Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started here because we should be jumping into a lobby pretty shortly. But I'm been taking a break from casting for a little bit as we had the NGS season coming to an end. But now that Heroes Lounge has been starting up, I'm actually going and starting up some casts again, and we're going to start off here in Division 2, my own division, for those of you who may be following my team. But we're going to be seeing a Week 1 matchup between two new teams. I know there are some veteran players on these teams, but mostly new people, and so it's going to be a really exciting one. Obviously, first week matchups are always really, really exciting. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat because there's a bit of confusion going on, but it looks like it's just a misunderstanding. But yeah, so we have two teams tonight. We've got Team Rocket. I believe that is a Spanish team. We have a good few of those this season, so always excited to see them coming in and see how they do. I could be wrong, obviously, but I know that there is a Spanish caster who's been trying to cast a lot of the Spanish teams. Micro22, you can see in the title, obviously, I put that he is going to be casting this in Spanish. So if you are a fan of them, and I'm correct in assuming that they are Spanish, you can go ahead and check them out at his channel. And then the other team is going to be the Careless Badgers, which has some team members from the Montreal Bagels, or Montreal Style Bagels, which was a Division 1 team, I believe, for a good while, played in TESPA as well, and had pretty strong results. And I believe there's two members of that team joining some various streamers who you may recognize from the Heroes Hearth CCL or just from being fans of their streams, and they are going to be our right team, I guess, for the evening. So we're going to be going ahead and jumping into this pretty shortly. We had a bit of confusion about the maps here, so we don't quite have a map picked yet, but I can go ahead and start us off by taking a look at the maps that were banned out for this evening. So Team Rocket, our blue team, went ahead and banned out Cursed Hollow and Sky Temple, so showing they maybe prefer more team fighty, less macro intensive maps, which Cursed and Sky are probably the most macro intensive maps of the pool for Heroes Lounge this season. Garden of Terror has been removed and replaced with Brax's Holdout this season. There was a vote for that, which did eventually decide that Braxis would be in there instead of Garden, so that is not in the map pool, but Braxis was banned out regardless here by the members of the Careless Badgers. They also went ahead and banned out Volskaya Foundry, so getting rid of two actually pretty team-fighting maps in Volskaya, probably the most common map that you see played here in Heroes Lounge or in NGS. Sorry, going ahead and responding to that real quick, as it looks like we're actually going to have our first map here. So two very different maybe preferences for these teams as far as smaller, less macro versus not wanting to have to go to maps where it's really all about team fighting. But the first map pick is going to be onto Dragonshire. That's a really exciting map to start it off, because Dragonshire is a map that is very, very dependent on your coordination and on the skill of your offlaner. I know that there is a strong offlane player for the side of the Careless Badgers, Kyle Ferguson, or Tarask in game. He played offlane for 2 seasons during the CCL, so I know he has become known for that role, even though it might not be his main role otherwise. So that'll be exciting to see, as the offlane matchup, very exciting and very important on this map. And definitely, I think, a smart map pick here from Team Rocket, as we did see Braxis banned out. That's a pretty similar map as far as having that 4-1 split. So being able to maybe get looking for an early advantage by taking a map which is a bit more team fight oriented, and there is a solid bit of macro though to be had on Dragonshire. So we'll have to see which of the teams ends up being able to come out on top. I'm just going to go ahead and wait here for a lobby invite, but yeah, we will be able to get started here shortly. Oh, perfect. I have been invited, and we're going to be able to go ahead and jump into this pretty shortly. going to go ahead and inform the teams of their sides just because it makes my life a whole lot easier. And then we'll be able to get jumping into this. Hopefully, I'm not sure of the viewer count, not sure how many people are here, but hopefully those of you who are joining me are excited for this. Start of season for Heroes Lounge is always exciting, especially seeing a map like this, which is so focused around your team coordination, is something that you definitely don't see very much in the early parts of a season because of how, well, especially when you're looking at two teams like this, pretty fresh teams. So still working on their coordination, so I'll be excited to see how these teams manage to work around that and make sure that they are getting the best play possible and able to rotate around the other team. Alrighty. Looks like we might be missing the Spanish caster here. Yep, looks like we're waiting on the Spanish caster to jump on in here, and then we will be able to go ahead and get started with our first match here. Let me make sure I have these teams correct. And alright, I'm all set up, but if you're here in chat, let me know who you're rooting for, who well, I guess who you think is going to be able to come out on top during the first map. Lots of big names. I'm certain that the fans of the streamers are watching from their streams, as you would expect, but hopefully this one will be we'll get some people coming out. I know there's always, you always get some regulars, and then you always get some fans of the teams coming through. But yeah, I'm a bit rusty at stalling for time. I haven't casted in a hot minute. It's been a month or so. I've had a very busy past month or two, just with the whole situation with the virus here in the US. And let me see. I'm pretty sure there's some rules for if one of the casters doesn't show up. Let me go ahead and check. Yeah, so maybe there won't be a Spanish cast, unfortunately. I would hope that we'd be able to get him in here, but it looks like he has not been responding, unfortunately. So we will be giving it a few more minutes here, but we will get started if needs be. With the match here. So let's talk about Dragonshire a bit. The map itself, isolated of the teams. So Dragonshire, as I mentioned already, has a very, very important solo lane. So you're looking at a lot of different matchups, and really the solo lane meta has been really interesting over the past couple patches, because there's been a lot of really strong solo laners. You have Imperius, who can pretty much dominate one-on-one against any hero, at least after level 4, with the press forward talent. So he's always a hero that you have to be aware of and careful of. And then on the other hand, you have, on the other hand, you have to understand that Imperius has pretty weak macro. So while he can win 1v1, just kind of wailing on each other against pretty much any offlaner, he can be out-rotated, or if the bruiser camps are taken, he can get taken out or forced out of the point by having to clear that and just get pushed in really hard. On the other hand, you have, of course, the classic Rexxar, very, very strong on the map because of his ability to soak the lane and hold the point at the same time. But even then, we're looking at heroes like Yrel, Malthael, even Leoric and Zool. There's so many different approaches. You can try to double soak with your offlaner and control the bottom lane. You can try to just completely control the top lane with a very one-on-one strong hero who might not be as great at macro. It's a very interesting situation, and lots of different things can happen, so we'll have to see how these teams adapt. And the first pick is given to the second team here because it was the map pick of Team Rocket. So that actually kind of favors Team Rocket a little bit if they want to make sure that they get a favorable offlane matchup, because that means that they will have the last pick during the draft there. Looking at the 4-man though, there are also a ton of really, really strong heroes that you can look at for the 4-man. Mei, of course, having come out recently, has pretty decent sustain and really good kind of point control and bullying of an area, so she can help win the bottom 4-man. And then there's so many strong heroes with poke. You've got the Tassadar, of course, as well as really just tons of other heroes that you look at when you're talking about the 4-man in this map. So we'll have to watch that, and really between all of those, that's talking a lot about the team fight aspect. We also have to watch, see how these teams rotate, see how they soak the mid lane, because that is something that many teams, or it can determine for many teams who wins, who's able to come out on top based on how they're able to control the mid soak, because it can get you a really good lead if you are ahead of the enemy team, and same thing with camps. Alright, perfect. We've got all the casters in. Should hopefully be able to jump into the draft here any moment now, just waiting on the ready from one of our people here in the lobby, and then we can go ahead and get started. And here we go. So, week 1 of Heroes Lounge, 2 new teams, so no idea what to expect. We could see some really juicy stuff. We could see Abathur, we could see Vikings, we could see... who knows? Some people have been playing Cho'Gall since the most recent patch, seeing some interesting strategies based around that. Don't think I would expect it on this map, but we'll have to keep an eye out and see how these teams decide to focus their drafts. As it looks like I dropped a few frames there, I'm just going to go ahead and preemptively pull down my bitrate just a little bit, try and make sure that we're getting the best quality stream for you guys possible. Alright, and taking their time on the first ban, really considering what they want to make sure is not allowed for this game here on Dragonshire. I know that the roles of the Careless Badgers can be a bit flexible here, so they're probably pretty comfortable to ban out some of the more meta picks here. Stuff like the JOHANNA, which they're going to go ahead and get rid of first. She's obviously really good for the rotations, just has pretty decent self-sustain, all things considered, and can provide the solid front line that you really need when you have that kind of brawly 4-man in the bottom lane. On the other side here, maybe we see an off-lane ban. Cassia is a hero, of course, that many people... yep, still considered to be very strong. Looks like they're going to agree. Go ahead and ban that out here for the side of Team Rocket. And next up, Badger's got the second ban. Are they going to continue a tank choke here? That would be an interesting strategy here, and it looks like they are going to. So the 2 tanks that are generally just the all-around utility tanks who kind of give a lot of different things, going to get taken out here in JOHANNA and ETC. So... gonna try and force the enemy team off of maybe the tank pool that they would like here. And we're gonna see the Abathur ban, something that can work out on this map if you're able to micro around it really well. So they're gonna go ahead and make sure that that isn't happening here. And now the first pick, will it be onto the solo lane? Will it be the tank? Since they did choke that role heavily, it will be, and it's gonna be Garrosh here, picked up for Slice. He did receive some pretty hefty buffs in the most recent patch, able to get some stronger self-sustain, definitely, but also some buffs to some of his other more aggressive talents. As we're going to see Tassadar picked up here nice and early, of course considered very strong by many. it's interesting. I have found that he can be very oppressive if in certain situations, but he can also feel like dead weight in some, so we'll have to see if the early task pick works out here for Team Rocket. As it's going to be Greymane and Anna locked in here for the side of the Careless Badgers. So Anna, of course, gives you that really, really strong potential for a nano boost, which can completely dominate team fights after level 10. And Greymane, of course, really solid for camp taking, as well as for just general fighting. He's does a lot of damage. He struggles a bit in the self-sustain, but he's one of the strongest all-arounder assassins right now. And we're going to see Mephisto banned out, not wanting to have to deal with him with a nano boost. He's definitely one of the most terrifying mages in the game when paired with Anna. So understandable why they wouldn't want to have to deal with that on the side of Team Rocket. As DECKARD Kane going to be the ban from the side of the Careless Badgers. Definitely makes sense. After Rhaegar's Bloodlust got nerfed a little bit, I would say DECKARD and Anna are probably the top 2 healers in the meta right now. So we're going to go ahead and see... I would expect a Rhaegar pick here regardless, as this is a very strong map for him. His ability to clear camps and waves comes in handy a lot. And we're going to see the Malthael as well, so going ahead and picking up the offlaner sooner rather than later, wanting to leave the last pick to Spectro, I assume a DPS pick. And Malthael is going to be able to give them double soak as well as a pretty dominant offlane matchup. So we're going to have to see how they decide to respond to that on the side of Careless Badgers with their own solo lane pick here. It is going to be Zul and Alarak coming in. Alarak can definitely be really scary with a nano boost, and in that 4-man has a lot of pressure because it's hard to step up against an Alarak because you just feel like you're going to give him free combos. So definitely a threatening 4-man here, and Zul going to be able to match the soak, but also will have to be aware that there's going to be a Tracer coming in here for Spectro of Team Rocket. That is definitely a very strong lock in there for them. Going to be able to gank Zul and really help Malthael out in being able to deny that push pressure that Zul can give as the pretty much undisputed best double soaker in the game. No one really able to match the pressure that he can put out. So looking at these drafts, I think that we have a really, really threatening 4-man here. Garrosh, Greymane, Alarak, and Anna is so strong as a 4-man at getting picks, so they're going to have to really play around the Tracer on the side of Team Rocket, and if they can, and can just bully Zul and even get a few picks on him, then I think that the macro aspect will be a lot harder if that were to happen for the Careless Badgers. They definitely are relying on being able to keep the Zul alive, so as always, keep an eye on the off lane. I'll try to make sure I'm highlighting that a little bit here, as we're going to go ahead and jump into our first game here. Here on Dragonshire, we're going to start off with Team Rocket. We've got Rakba on Diablo, Ilseed on Tassadar, Chinoforce on Rhaegar, Lynx V on Malthael, and Spectro on Tracer. Against them, it's going to be the Careless Badgers. We've got Breakwood on Greymane, Coffee playing Alarak, Tarask on Zul, Slice on Garrosh, and Kyberries playing Anna here. Gonna go ahead and jump into the level 1 matchup, and we're already going to see the classic combo build starting off for Alarak. He's going to be looking for those pulls and to try and keep his combo up as often as possible so that he can really get those early game picks, especially against the Tassadar, known for kind of having to stand still for a lot of his abilities here. Looks like the early wave clear is going to definitely be in favor of the red team here. Going to be able to clear that with Zul as Malthael immediately went off into the off lane. But Tracer going to be able to already start clearing the bottom lane for Team Rocket here, as Diablo does their best to try and interrupt the rotations a bit, but it's going to be pretty much what you would expect. Looks like the offlaners are going to be the ones double soaking here, and we're just going to have a nice 4-man brawl in the bottom lane. Watch these teams though, see how they rotate to their camps. Looks like Greymane already looking to start on the siege camp for the side of the Careless Badgers, but with a Force Wall and a Shadow Charge, Slice is in a bit of danger on the Garrosh. Diablo gets thrown, gets slept, and actually Tracer's getting very low as well. Everyone going to be able to survive here. A nice counter engage there from Coffee and from Slice. Able to put a lot of pressure onto the blue team even though they were down a person, and that means they're going to get their siege camp out nice and early here. And Greymane is going to immediately move onto this bruiser camp. I do think he'll need a little bit of help to finish that off. Looks like Anna's going to come and help out. As the blue team now, though, going to have a hefty person advantage in this bottom lane. Going to be able to clear out these siege giants nice and easy and start pushing in with their own. Azul grabs the top lane for the moment. Ooh, a pick comes out onto Alarak. Didn't quite catch that, but it looks like basically maybe getting a bit too aggressive here, trying to defend, and Diablo able to eat a few tower shots for his team to make sure that they secure that first kill here onto Alarak. Definitely a struggle when you have your team rotating off for those bruisers nice and early, and we're going to see the response onto the bottom bruisers thanks to that kill for the side of Team Rocket. Don't think it should be too much of an early advantage. Ooh, as it looks like we're going to have a bit of a maybe miss there on the throw. Ooh, Greymane now in a bit of trouble. Gonna get pinned, gonna get walled, but again, going to be able to escape ultimately, as we've got just great early pressure put into this bot lane by the members of Team Rocket. Anna currently actually catching the mid soak for her team, trying to make sure that they're able to keep control of the top lane, so they have to keep Zul there. And now it looks like Alarak's in a bit of danger once again. Greymane getting low, and they really wish they had their healer right now. Ooh, the stealth gonna be able to save Breakwood on the Greymane as Kyberries comes in, but the front wall has fallen for the side of the Careless Badgers, and it looks like their fountain might fall as well here. Gonna have to play safe around this early game where there's a lot of potential kill pressure here, and Rockbot on the Diablo doing a great job of setting up his team to get these picks, which will lead to a little bit of a lead here, only about a third of a level. But this structure damage is really the more important thing here to look at, as for the moment it looks like we're going to have Zul going into a bit of a I can never remember the Curse Strike build here for Zul. Gonna have to be careful as Tracer rotating up. Gonna try and get something here, but looks like they're going to choose to fall back as they're getting their own bruiser camp on the side of Team Rocket here. And it is going to be the bottom lane captured for the members of the Careless Badgers, looking for a little bit of aggression onto Rockbot, just starting to stack up the show of force, but we did have the gank with Tracer onto Greymane in the mid lane, and now Zul getting harassed. And this is the power of Tracer. She is able to gank so efficiently, and we really just see a very aggressive kind of pick-based comp here for the side of the blue team. Gonna have to see a little bit more respect afforded to them by the Careless Badgers, but it looks like they shouldn't have too much of an issue for the moment. Ooh, a nice throw onto Spectro, but not going to result in anything here, as now the counter engage. Coffee gets saved by the Into the Fray out of the fray, and it's just going to be a 4v4, make it 4v5 as Malthael rotates in, and that's going to be the third kill here, or fourth, for the side of Team Rocket, and they're going to go ahead and grab a Dragon Knight. So that bruiser camp paying off a lot, getting the pressure, forcing Zul to leave, and that is going to be now almost a level lead, almost to ult for the side of Team Rocket, as they're going to push in to this middle lane and start taking down the first fort. Zul is pressuring really hard in the top lane, and this is something that you always have to remember, is that Zul is able to pressure super effectively thanks to his trait, but he has to be careful as Tracer going to come in. He's going to be able to pop the shield as well as the root onto Spectro. Not sure if he'll be able to get out though, as that is going to be the pulse bomb. Gonna try and get some self-sustain with the curse strikes there, but will ultimately fall as Alarak comes out to try and help. And that's going to be 2 forts off this first Dragon Knight. Tons of early value for a Dragon Knight, and largely thanks to that level lead that they have here, getting them their ultimate abilities. As we do see the Quantum Spike here for Tracer, which did, I think, allow her to finish off that kill there onto the Zool. So gonna have to be careful for that increased kind of finishing damage on the pulse bomb. Now the invade onto the siege camp for Team Rocket. Spectro and the Tracer able to just blink out as the bone prison comes down onto them. And now the disengage, nice and clean there from Slice. And it looks like it's going to just be kind of evened up. A bit of a rough early game here, as we're actually going to see an invade. So Team Rocket definitely taking advantage of the fact that they know where the members of the blue team or red team are, but that is going to be a nano boost onto Coffee, and you can't underestimate that. Going to be able to get out without falling to that last rites, but ultimately will be 2 kills in favor of Team Rocket, as we're doing a great job with Diablo of splitting the side of... Ooh! And there's a kill. Coffee popping off a little bit with a huge combo there, able to get the sadism from the level 4 talent, even if he hasn't been able to get kills up to this point. And this is something that we really have to be watching, because the counter engage is very, very strong for the red team. If they're able to get it, they just have to be able to play around it and stay safe until that point. But for the moment, it's going to be Spectro on the Tracer, just pushing in against Zool here, able to completely avoid him. And this is definitely going to be a rough point for the red team in fights, is trying to take care of Tracer, as they don't have that many options to deal with her during this part of the game. Looking at stats right now, Tracer, you can see highest hero damage by a decent bit in the game, able to secure lots of those ganks and kills, which gave the early lead to Team Rocket. But Alarak sitting pretty close as well, able to do a lot for their team, as for the moment the Careless Badgers are just going to be sitting back and doing their best to try and clear out these lanes. But they have to be careful, because Chino Force on the Rhaegar already ready in the mid to get that Dragon Knight, and it will be free basically. Interrupt not quite there. I think the Careless Badgers weren't expecting for the rotations to be that quick for their opponents here. But Team Rocket going to get the second Dragon Knight of the game and push in with their 13 talent tier advantage. We do see Cruelty here for Diablo, looking like he's going into a full auto attack build here, which will give him a lot of potential kind of sustained CC as well as self-heal in these fights if he isn't interrupted. So we're going to have to watch and see how that's going to be dealt with by the side of the Careless Badgers. Breakwood going to be able to dodge the pulse bomb there. APOC comes out. Not much going to come of it. A nice attempt to turn there, as we see Archon actually popped as well, but not quite having the pressure, as Tracer just used the pulse bomb there. And so it's actually going to be really quite well defended by the side of the Careless Badgers here. They did lose the top fort, which was already very low, but otherwise lost very little, considering it's a decent health Dragon Knight, and we are at a point in the game where that talent tier advantage does mean quite a bit here. We are going to be seeing the Smelling Salts here, able to cleanse stuns and give 50 armor. That will be very, very important for the side of the Careless Badgers here, trying to make sure that they keep themselves alive against these Diablo combos. So watch Kaya is going to have a lot of potential to save there now, as Zool doing his best to push out these lanes and keep the team alive in the XP game, as now level 16 is here and we're going to see the Overpowering Nightmare. So fully committing to this sustained auto attack slash CC cooldown reduction build for Diablo, for Rakba. Definitely something that I think is maybe a bit under the radar right now, as it did get really heavily buffed in this most recent patch. We're actually going to have Pure Malice here for Alarak, so maybe a bit pessimistic, knowing Tracer's going to get a few picks, but that could allow for some game-changing sadism, as it's going to be a 5v5 fight force here. Bloodlust comes in as well. Zool going to be the first to fall. Taunt comes out, but Slice is not going to be able to sustain through, as the last rites comes, and that's going to be a finish onto both of the front line for the side of the Careless Badgers. And definitely, obviously, not what you prefer, but you do have to realize That is 20 sadism here for the Alarak, played by Coffee here. And at this point, I think it's pretty much all on him to bring his team back into this game, as they are pretty decently behind here. Obviously, always a chance to come back, but with that now, it looks like maybe a keep going to fall to the side of Team Rocket, as they are pushing in hard with this bruiser camp that they invaded with. Spectro on the Tracer falls very, very low, almost falling there. But now it's Rockbot getting rooted, getting sliced at, and sustaining through just barely. This is the power of that auto attack build, and now the clump from the side of the Careless Badgers is gonna maybe prove to be their downfall, as Slice getting very low, gonna be the first to fall here on the Garrosh, and Tarask just doing his best to sustain through, barely lives the last rites, gonna be able to get into the Hall of Storms, and overall a decently successful defense for the Careless Badgers. Alarak sitting at 153 sadism thanks to Pure Malice. That is going to be maxed out, I believe. I believe there have been 4 deaths since he picked that talent, but now they need to make some kind of defense, because this is going to be a potential Dragon Knight coming in for the side of the blue team, and it looks like maybe they're just going to go ahead and give it over here. Not confident without the talent tier, so gonna just try and soak up and defend against this. They obviously do have Cursed Bullet, which won't do 35%, but will be able to do a decent chunk to the Dragon Knight. Also, of course, got all of that sadism on Alarak built up, so he'll be able to chunk through that pretty well. They just need to make sure that these picks coming out between the combination of Tracer and, well, Tracer actually is in the Dragon Knight, maybe a bit of a blessing in disguise there for the side of the Careless Badgers, as a huge taunt into the stun from the core. That's going to be a ton of damage coming out. The Nano Boost onto Coffee, but the Tassadar does so much in response. Coffee will fall, not after Diablo does, but it's going to be Garrosh falling next. 2 dead for the side of the Careless Badgers, and this Dragon Knight is on the core. Chino Force on the Rhaegar will fall as well, and that's 2 dead for the side of Team Rocket. Looks like Diablo will be coming back with the souls reset here. The core is falling down to 78% for the moment, and with the stun hitting onto Tassadar, he will be falling as well. And that is going to be a successful defense. Diablo charging in, looking for the wall stun, but he's going to pay for it. Gets rooted by Zul and gets blown up. And now that is a lot of important comeback potential here for the side of the Careless Badgers. Breakwood doing lots of work on this Grammy and taking advantage of that core mechanic which was introduced just a while ago. With the 2-second stun there from the core. Alarak did fall though, so that is 60 or so sadism down the drain for him. We're going to have to see if this comeback still comes through though, as level 20s are now being reached for the side of Team Rocket, and Kyberry's in a lot of danger on the Ana, gonna get picked off by Tracer here. Gosh, that hero is pretty disgusting when you've got a full-on burst build here coming in. Got heavy-handed for the armor reduction, the quantum spike, of course. So Ana going to fall there, and that is a rough stagger, as they just seem to be getting back into it. But now with level 20s up and a hero up, the map is again going to be under the control of the blue team here, Team Rocket. Pushing into the bottom lane here, we're able to grab those bruisers with the Malthael. And now it's just a matter of, can the Careless Badgers get a fight? I'm not sure if Rockba realized that Tarask was there. A bit of a delayed response, but he will fall regardless. And Diablo is just so bulky with this auto attack build. That's going to be a wipe onto all of the members of the Careless Badgers, and this will be game number 1 going over to Team Rocket. I don't think Ana's going to be able to pull off the miracle defense here. Force Wall even coming back. And indeed, that will be the first game here for the blue team. Team Rocket pretty dominantly in this first series, but we'll have to see if they're able to keep it going. Looking at the match summary, we saw so much damage coming out from the Tassadar. You really see him start to spike thanks to the static charge, thanks to the thermal lance here. He can do insane amounts of burst, and you saw him following up every APOC combo that Diablo pulled out. And that was what secured them a lot of those kills during team fights, and with Tracer getting 12 kills during the rest of the match, it was really just total map control, excellently performed by the side of Team Rocket. We'll have to see what the choice is for the Careless Badgers as we get into our second map here shortly. As I do think there was really solid play from the red team. I think especially in team fights we saw a lot of potential there, often getting very, very close to kills, which without that 2 or so level lead that was gained really early might have come through, and then maybe we see a very different game. So watch to see that here, as we will hopefully be getting our next map shortly. But for the moment, I'll bring it back to me here. I'm not sure if they're going to use the match channel. No, I imagine they're just using Whispers for that, so I will keep you updated. But for the moment, looking back at that game, I really do think the gank pressure from the Tracer and just the early kills from Diablo were what seemed to bring Team Rocket ahead. Thank you, Umpleby, for the follow. Appreciate it. Yeah, back to that. So I think looking at the early game, I really actually liked the camp rotation that we saw coming out from the side of the Careless Badgers. They got their siege camp out way before Team Rocket and were able to get their bruiser camp out very quickly as well. But what we ended up seeing was one pick allowed for Team Rocket to really snowball, get an early amount of pressure in the bottom lane, and thanks to that they were able to just control the whole pacing of the map, able to get a lot of momentum and a lot of picks, which allowed them to keep that momentum. So looking at the map that we are going to now, Infernal Shrines, I do not know who chose it yet, but we are going to see still potential for ganks, and we really have to trust me, I've had days where I forget to make my bed. I'm glad today wasn't that day. But Infernal Shrines, definitely potential for some rotations and some ganks, but a lot more focus on the team fight, and maybe a little bit less focus onto one lane, as I do think that was where the Careless Badgers seemed to struggle, was in that bottom lane matchup. So I think maybe being able to rotate as a 4-man as opposed to having a off laner doing all the double soaking on this map might keep them a bit safer, keep them in the game so that they can get to those team fights where they really did look quite strong, just weren't able to quite come back after the early lead that Team Rocket was able to secure. The kills coming right before or with the Dragon Knight, of course, were huge and allowed them to get those 2 forts early in the game, something you very rarely see. But Dragonshire can be a bit of a snowballing map, so I definitely think it could go either way here. See if the snowball maybe starts the other way. But Team Rocket, to be fair, did look quite dominant, so we'll have to watch for them as we should be jumping into the draft for a second map here on Infernal Shrines. And I was hoping that by that point it would be great, but not quite. Thank you, Maddie. I appreciate it. I do my best. I have to give credit where credit's due. I use a program called Soothsayer, as we're going to jump into the draft, which does pretty much all of the graphics and all of the I should say all of the overlay is pretty much done by just I put in the information into this into this program, and it does all the work for me. So it's really useful. It takes a while to set up, but if you're looking at getting into casting, definitely check that out. But let's focus on the draft at hand. So Team Rocket now has the first pick, so not going to be able to pull out the last pick shenanigans quite as well, as the Tracer definitely did come in with not many counters, and that is part of the struggle, of course, of the first week matchup, is you aren't able to really do much research, especially with teams that are pretty new. But here on Infernal Shrines, we're going to see, I would assume, some similar bans. Obviously, you have very AoE, or a high importance placed on AoE damage because of the Shrine. So I would expect to see some bans onto stuff like that. But for now, it's going to be actually the respect onto the Garrosh, and I do think Slice played the Garrosh really well. It was pretty survivable, and it almost got a lot of counter kills, which almost is neither here nor there, but we're going to see the Abathur ban here. You always have to realize and kind of take into account the struggle of a snowball and how much that little health and damage scaling can do for you when you have that level lead. Next up here, do we see a respect ban again onto the Alarak or the Greymane, or are we just going to see maybe a map ban coming out? It's going to be a map ban, I think, that would be onto the Kael'thas. This is undoubtedly his best map. Being able to put the living bombs onto the Shrine Monkeys is really just gross, and allows you to confirm a lot more minions as well as a lot of free kind of poke onto the enemy team here. So going to take that mage out of the question for the side of Team Rocket. Now the Careless Badgers with the last ban before we go into our first pick. And it's going to be on to Cassia. Okay, yep. Can't forget Cassia. She is a bit squishier, but undoubtedly still puts out a ridiculous amount of damage and going to be respected here. And we're going to see the first pick onto Diablo once again, so really feeling confident in the play from last game, and you can't blame him. Team Rocket had a great Diablo play, or had many great Diablo plays last game, and being able to have that pick potential on a map like this where there's even more walls to exploit, definitely something that will need to be respected by the side of the Careless Badgers, as they're going to go into an ETC pick as well as Deckard Cain. Again, I like the healer priority from the Careless Badgers. Ooh, but DPS picked up immediately here. Tracer again for Spectro, and Mephisto we saw banned out last time, but now going to be picked up for the side of Team Rocket. So worth noting, they don't have that much shrine clear yet, but that is a really terrifying combination of DPS. I would expect an Ana ban here, but it's actually going to be the Rhaegar. So the potential for a nano boosted Mephisto is there, and that is super scary. Anyone who's been on the receiving end of a good Mephisto with a nano boost knows that that can be really just, it can be game ending. That being said, we're going to have the ban now here for Team Rocket, and they're going to ban out Imperius, who can help shut down that Mephisto, force him to stop moving, and really can close the gap and move in on him, as Mephisto obviously isn't really able to hit people when they're inside of his circle. If you're able to keep on top of him, you don't have to worry too much. Two picks here now going to be available for the Careless Badgers. Offlane not picked for either side. And it's going to be Raynor coming out as their sustained DPS, and Chromie for the mage. Chromie does have pretty decent shrine clear, but also a lot of poke and a lot of burst, especially looking into the late game. Level 18 with Piercing Sands can be really, really powerful, especially over the shrines. So keep an eye out for that, and Slowing Sands can help a lot in controlling the point against heroes like Diablo and Mephisto. As we're going to see Uther coming out as the healer here, so trying to prevent damage in bursts, as well as Zul to make sure that their team does indeed have the shrine clear that they need here to finish out the draft for the side of Team Rocket. Uther, not something you see a lot, but his CC can really be super powerful in just controlling a team fight, especially if you're able to keep your teammates alive with the sustained, or with the little bursts of healing that you get, which did obviously get buffed a little bit, I believe, in the most recent patch here. And then we're going to see Thrall as the offlaner here. I like that pick. Gives them a lot of disruption potential, gives them some more CC, but also some more damage, which I do feel like they were lacking a little bit with their draft right now, as Raynor and Chromie both really like to scale a bit into the late game here. So solid drafts coming out for both sides. I think if I had to give it to either side, I think I'd have to give it to Team Rocket here just because of how well they performed. A pretty similar draft in the last game. And I think for the map, seeing that Mephisto, seeing that Zool, really, really scary, as well as the Tracer played by Spectro was very, very powerful and was able to get them a lot of value. So we'll have to watch and see how Thrall is able to survive off in the solo lane, if he's able to make sure that he isn't getting ganked. And see if the team fights can maybe go a bit better here for the Careless Badgers, or if Team Rocket will be able to control the map and control this series and take it in a 2-0. Starting off on the left side, we're going to have the side of Team Rocket. You've got playing Diablo, Ilcidi on Mephisto, Chino Force on Uther, Lynx V on Zool, and Spectro on Tracer. Their opponents are going to be the Careless Badgers. You've got Breakwood on Chromie, Coffee on Raynor, Tarask on Thrall, Slice on ETC, and Kyberries. Playing DECKARD Kane. DECKARD is really, really strong in this map. One of his strongest, and Stay a While and Listen is a very, very strong potential disengage tool to use, especially against that Mephisto. If you're able to deny him the cooldown reduction that he wants, you can really get a good early pace in the team fight, as he really does need that cooldown reduction to be able to keep up his damage throughout a fight. Tracer going to come in onto Coffee, who gets flipped by Diablo and falls very low. Going to be first blood here for Team Rocket, as the attempt onto Mephisto did not quite finish out. And now Slice on the ETC in a little bit of danger. Bit of a bush party waiting for them there, but they're going to be able to go ahead and escape from that. We are going to see pretty much what you would expect. We have the W build was nerfed a little bit here for Mephisto, but going to still go into that. And then Uther going to start off with the Silver Touch, going to give them a bit more mana sustain, as well as the increased range and healing that you really need with Uther. I think there was a chance we saw the W talent at level 1, since that was pretty substantially buffed, but not going to be the case for now. Slice looking for a power slide onto Rockbug, gonna get flipped around a little bit, but should be fine here. As Thrall trying to do his best to match Zool, but not gonna be as easy, especially with Tracer harassing here in the mid lane. As we're going to see both teams, it looks like, working on their siege camps. And again, a little bit of an early lead for the side of our blue team, but not too much. I think the structure lead that came out early and the nature of the objective on Dragonshire did allow them to get a nice early lead. The time trap going to help get some figure out that Uther was waiting in that bush and get some nice stacks coming in for the Chromie, as they're actually going for the deep breathing. But for the moment, let's focus on the action as Ruby comes out, going to be able to save Kyberries there on the DECKARD Kane. And now a bit of counter engage or damage being put onto the members of Team Rocket, and this is what we need to be seeing from the red team during these team fights. If they can survive the initial engage and the huge CC train and burst from the side of Team Rocket, they have a lot of good sustained team fighting, so we'll have to watch for that in these fights. As we're seeing a continuation of this Dragon Breath build for Chromie, so looking for the AoE focus more, and that will help a lot with their Shrine Clear here to be able to try and go against the Zool, as getting those Q hits early in the game is pretty difficult through the Shrine minions. So instead, just going to go with maybe a bit more consistent draft here. Looks like for the moment it is going to be the lead for the side of the Careless Badgers, but Slice on the ETC a bit caught in the middle of the enemy team. A nice route comes out from DECKARD to disengage as Rockbot on Diablo is getting quite low. DECKARD not quite able to keep up with the healing as a huge Ruby comes out, going to be able to keep Slice alive in the middle of the blue team. And it looks like maybe we're going to see this first Punisher taken by the red team, as indeed we do see Zool backing off. There is going to be a bit of poke from the Mephisto, as well as Tracer coming in, but the Pulse Bomb is not going to land. And so, ooh, a really huge power slide onto 2, as well as a penetrating round. That's going to be 2 kills for the side of the Careless Badgers, as well as this first Punisher secured. We did see Zool pushing in this top lane here, able to get some damage, but we're going to have to see if the Careless Badgers can match that with their own push here. Raynor very strong at pushing, and Tracer not so bad, or Chromie, sorry, not so bad on her own. Mephisto gets jumped on. You can see the pings on him. They wanted to try and follow that up, but weren't quite able to, as Zool trying to sneak behind and soak. Gonna be able to just walk away, and it looks like the push only gonna get a little bit of the fort and the front wall here for the side of the Careless Badgers, but with the first Punisher, that's about what you would expect, and you're gonna be pretty happy with that. Gank going out onto Zool. He's going to be able to walk away from that, taking about half his health, but that's not something he's too concerned about. Slice needs to be careful on the ETC, though, as Team Rocket is lurking. Looking again for these picks, which is what got them the lead in the first game. But Careless Badgers has been doing a good job of making sure that they aren't allowing for those ganks to happen, and making sure that they're only fighting when necessary. Where I think they do have a bit of a stronger comp. Rockbot on the Diablo, going to get power slid by Slice. Some nice damage going to be pushed onto them. And the Ruby, you can see, getting tons of value here. Kyberry's always connecting with at least one hero there and allowing for their team to get a lot of sustained healing. Slowing Sands is going to be the pick, but ETC falling quite low, going to need that armor there, and will be able to get out as a huge root goes out onto the members of Team Rocket, and that will be Tracer falling. Zool rotates in to try and help with the team fight, but it is all but lost, really, for Team Rocket. A very nice pick, and Slowing Sands, as I mentioned, going to be really important for controlling points here for the side of the Careless Badgers. That will help them a lot in preventing Diablo from getting what he wants, preventing Mephisto from getting what he wants. But we are still pre-10, and you do have to be wary, as the ults for the members of Team Rocket can really potentially turn these fights a bit in their favor. One thing worth noting, let's take a look at the XP here, as Zool, 9,000 XP, 3,000 above Thrall. Thrall hasn't quite been double soaking as much during this game. There has been more rotations off by the members of our red team here, as Slice actually looking a bit aggressive. As Thrall rotates in, they're going to look for the invade with their 10 advantage here. We do see the Sundering coming out, as well as Mosh Pit, Stay While, and Listen. Raynor's Raider, Slowing Sands as well, which we already saw. Nice face melt there, canceling the shadow charge from Diablo. But yeah, just looking at those stats, you can see that the ability of Zool to double soak is really helping out Team Rocket, as they are trying to get these picks, not quite able to. But with Zool, they're able to make sure that they're always keeping up on the XP, and the rotations are being dictated by them. A solo Mosh onto Diablo. He is going to be cleansed out, so he won't get hit by the root there from DECKARD Kane, and now the counter engage with everything coming out from the blue team. The Divine Shield onto Spectral, on the Tracer, and that will be the first pick onto DECKARD Kane. Coffee on the Raynor will be the next to fall, and Slice not looking much better here on the ETC, as they will fall. 3 very, very well timed picks here for the side of Team Rocket. The damage just wasn't quite there to kill Diablo from that Mosh. It would have been so good if they were able to, resetting his souls completely, but unfortunately not able to get that pick, and the counter engage is going to all but secure really this objective here for Team Rocket. We see Chromie just sitting in the bot lane, soaking it out, making sure that they aren't going to fall behind, as Zool is just soaking these lanes, not even worried about the shrine clear. Needs to be careful, as all of the members of the Careless Badgers are here, and actually if they're just going to start pushing in the bottom lane, they're saying, you know what, you have bad shrine clear. We see your Zool right here. It's going to take you a long time to get that done. Oh, Taras needs to be careful though, gets hit by the Pulse Bomb, tries to use Sundering to escape, but will fall, maybe getting a bit aggressive there. But did buy some time for his team, as they're going to get this full front wall. I would expect them to back off to get ready for that defense, but it looks like they're so confident in the fact that this shrine clear is so poor for the blue team, and the fact that the blue team came down, I guess, that they're going to be just continuing to push in here. Coffee gets a bit low, but able to heal himself up with the Adrenaline Rush. As it looks like, for the moment, Careless Badgers will back off. They were able to get some really decent damage onto that lane. And now it's going to be a question of, can they defend against this Punisher, as their front wall has all but fallen here in the top lane. And now, going to be the hold onto the objective for the side of Team Rocket, saying, you know what, there's no way you're getting this, but we don't have to get it right now either. We're going to take something else on the map to try and force you to come up here. And it looks like for the moment, they're just going to wait, get the camp, and then cap the objective. And now we're going to be watching, it looks like maybe Careless Badgers going to defend and Team Rocket just going to push in this bottom lane here. Breakwood on the Chromie does need to be careful as the push begins with these siege, Khazra, I believe they're called. Diablo gonna charge in. Very big root from Taras there. Gonna save himself from the Diablo combo, and APOC all but wasted there. And now it looks like Raynor gonna be able to defend pretty handily against the Punisher solo. Gets beat up a little bit, but all things considered, a very, very good defense for the Careless Badgers. Mephisto again not quite able to connect with his ult, but Zool coming in from the flank once again. Stay Well and Listen will land onto multiple, but Kyber's very low. A very nice Sundering gonna try to save, but not quite able to, as Slice goes in looking for a mosh potentially, not gonna find it, gonna take some punishment themselves. This Diablo now falling, going to lose those souls. And really I think that's a pretty fair trade for the Careless Badgers, being able to get rid of those souls. Deckard Kane will be back nice and soon, and nothing really important right now on the map, so they don't have to worry about falling too significantly behind, as about a half level lead for the blue team here on this second map. Both teams gonna just take their camps and soak the lanes. Level 16 will be here pretty shortly for the side of Team Rocket. They've been putting in a lot of work with this Divine Shielded Tracer. Not exactly what I expected. I was kind of expecting more of a Divine Storm approach. Ooh, as ETC gonna get caught, hit by the Durance of Hate, but a big mosh onto multiple members, and Slice is gonna be able to sit in through for the moment. Rockbot getting very, very low on the Diablo, but Tracer is putting in a lot of work in this backline. Slice now on the ETC falling low, but the first kill of this fight will be onto Diablo, and Tracer will be next as the Stay Well and Listen confirms the kill. Two coming in now for the side of the Careless Badgers, and they're going to look for an invade onto this Bruiser camp with that. Really nice fight for them, pre-16. I think Slice baiting the side of Team Rocket a little bit with the positioning there. Able to get a fight before the level 16 came in for the side of Team Rocket, who was ahead in XP, but that's just going to be another staggered death now onto Uther. Very well played here from the Careless Badgers, able to keep up their momentum. That being said, Zool has been constantly putting in pressure on the map, trying to make sure that wherever the Careless Badgers are getting value, he's getting value as well. And gonna have to watch that, as for the moment, Careless Badgers gonna push in, try and confirm this mid fort. A nice power slide and face melt there from Slice. Gonna confirm the disengage, and looking at this next team fight, while we do see a few ults down from each team, really, Careless Badgers should have all of their ults up, whereas we do see the skeletons for Zool, the skeletal mages, should be down for this next team fight. Looks like, seeing the enemy team in the bot lane, we're going to see Team Rocket taking out the fort in the top lane, and it'll just be a trade here as Careless Badgers push in on their own and start focusing down the bottom lane fort. That being said, they do have Zool with them on the objective, so Team Rocket will be able to start this out and get a nice early advantage, and looking for a potential gank here as Coffee on the Raynor will get destroyed, disappears from the map. Mosh does come out, but is cleansed and cancelled out. Kyberry's trying to survive on the Deckard Kane. A nice Sundering came in, but was not enough, and that is two members down from the side of the Careless Badgers here. Rough timing again, losing these members just before the objective pretty frequently, and that will be another objective claimed by the blue team. Slice barely dodges out on the wall stun there from Diablo. I think that will manage to save them. It's now Breakwood getting low on the Chromie. And it's just going to be bunker up time for the side of the Careless Badgers. Try and defend against the incoming pressure that this Punisher Mortar one will be providing. Mortar, definitely one of the stronger Punishers during the late game. Scales really hard, so those Mortars will tear heroes apart if they get locked down under them. Excuse me. And this fort will be taken for free, basically, for the side of Team Rocket. Now looking to push in, and they're looking for some picks. They've been able to control the momentum thus far with the Diablo picks and with the walls, with the shadow charges there. But with how fast this Punisher is falling, I don't think they're going to be able to maybe get too much more than that fort and the front wall to the keep. As Raynor with the Exterminator at level 1, as well as Chromie with her damage and Thrall's damage, gonna be able to handle that quite well. And now we do have the Piercing Sands coming in for Chromie. Big power spike, as that means that her Qs are going to be landing much more consistently during these objective fights. Spectro on the Tracer, caught out a little bit right now. Will they be able to escape? Looks like not even going to bother with the chase on the side of the Careless Badgers. They know that maybe is just baiting and wasting their time and giving the potential for a counter engage. But speaking of a counter engage, here come the Skeletal Mages, and Kyberry's caught out a bit on the Deckard Kane. APOC into the corridor. Deckard gets hit by the charge and will fall super low. The Mosh almost saves them, but it is going to be Deckard being the first to fall. Was able to pop the Ancient Blessings, but there isn't going to be enough healing for the red team, or is there? So many dead! And it's just going to be Mephisto versus versus Coffee on this Raynor, and versus Breakwood on this Chromie. Coffee will fall, but a 4-for-4 team fight. And that's gonna basically guarantee both these teams get to level 20 for the next objective. We do see Diablo respawning, but he is now out of souls. Very, very big for the side of the Careless Badgers for that next team fight. He will be a lot easier to pop. He has decided to go into the Lord of Terror to help deal with that in this last team fight. Otherwise, we're going to see the Mimic, as you would expect. Again, the total recall for Tracer in the Bulwark of Light. That's a potential AoE Divine Shield. If Uther isn't caught in a mosh, Careless Badgers need to be aware of that, as that could really soil, or not soil. What's the word I'm looking for? That could really mess with their plans here, as mosh has been a huge part of their team fight here. Otherwise, we're looking at Piercing Sands, as I mentioned, Nexus Blades, actually, for the bigger autos on Thrall, Death Metal for ETC, Respect the Elderly for the silences and blinds. That will help a lot, basically denying any damage potential for 3 seconds after the sleep, and Execute. So overall, super strong 20s on both sides, and with the kills so close and the structures so close, really whoever wins this objective could take this second map here. Will it be Team Rocket with a clean 2-0, or will it be the Careless Badgers able to take us to a third map here, as for the moment they're going to focus on clearing out these bruisers in the top lane. Shrine Clear is pretty weak again for the side of Team Rocket, so they can't afford to do this, but they will need to get down here pretty quickly, as the minion count does begin to pop up. And Rockba on the Diablo, sitting in the bush once again, always looking for the power slide, trying to catch the mispositioning there of this red team, as Slice goes in nice and early. The Divine Shield comes out onto Tracer, only hits Tracer. The Death Metal does come out onto 2, but ETC falling so quickly. Rockba on the Diablo will be the next to fall, but so many low members on the side of both teams. It's going to be 4 falling for the side of the Careless Badgers. Breakwood the only one left against 3, but will fall, and that will be a team wipe and a Punisher for the side of Team Rocket. Such chaotic and explosive team fights here. Both tanks disappeared almost immediately, but with that Divine Shield, Tracer was able to just do so much work in the back line of the Careless Badgers, and we saw Deckard Cain had his ult canceled out and did fall quite early there. The pressure really focused onto him during these team fights. You can see damage super high for Chromie as well as Mephisto. But I don't think it's going to be enough here, as the Careless Badgers not going to be able to complete the comeback unless maybe Punisher gets baited. It looks like Team Rocket is electing to push in for the second keep, try and walk in the camp and the catapults for the moment. That will give maybe a chance for the Careless Badgers to survive. Looks like they will. They're going to take a decent bit of core damage from these catapults and from this camp, but despite the wipe, they will survive. And that is really all you need on this map when you've got it opened up like this. Only 10% taken off the core. If they're able to get one team fight, they still have the potential to push down a lane and end the game for themselves here. And they definitely have the potential to do it. So many close team fights so far during this game. Bush Party going to be started here for the side of Team Rocket, maybe looking to get the grouped Divine Shield value. Slice needs to be careful on this ETC, going to get hit by everything here. Try and power slide out, immediately goes for the Mosh, but the Divine Shield onto Mephisto and onto Tracer is going to allow for 2 to fall immediately. Deckard Cain and ETC both down, and Tarask on the Thrall looks like he's going to be next. 3 for nothing here, make it 4 as Coffee on the Rainer falls, and that will be game number 2, going over to the side of Team Rocket. Able to execute such powerful picks and team fights with this Diablo. Rockbutt truly filling the role of the Lord of Terror here. Able to take game 2 for his team. Alright, checking out the stats here. Super close game until the very end. We did see Chromie doing so much damage, but that dual Divine Shield paid dividends in that last fight. Just preemptively using it to keep both of the DPS invulnerable meant that ETC fell and the rest was dominoes, really. Deathmosh wasn't able to get any value. Deckard, again, not able to use their abilities, and that's just the power of this huge CC train that you see from the side of the blue team here. Can take a look at the talents for the moment. And I believe that is going to be it for tonight. I believe there should be an interview in Spanish on Micro22's channel. I'm not gonna... I know most of these Spanish players prefer to not try and do English interviews, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it off there for the evening. But thank you everyone who came out. Very close second game, an excellent series overall. For a week 1 matchup, I think that's really all you can ask for. Both teams played excellently, and we saw, I think, much closer than some of the other matchups that you maybe see. When you aren't able to do so much research, when you've got 2 brand new teams, you never know what to expect necessarily going in. But very well played from both sides. I'm going to go ahead and head out for the evening. Thank you everyone who came, and I will catch you all another time. I believe I have some casts early next week, maybe later on. Maybe later on this week. I'll be live. You'll see.